Hey guys, Rick with Rick's Toy Room here, and as promised in some of our Facebook Live videos, we are releasing our guide to collecting. This is one of many videos that we're going to do, and this one is going to focus on the terminology and vocabulary used while collecting. Now, because we focus primarily on action figures, die-cast toys, Funkos, our vocabulary list is going to be fairly exclusive to that, and each of those product lines will have their own vocabulary. But this does kind of go across any and all collecting genres. So first and foremost, let's say this. Collecting can be of anything. Anything that you can own and procure is something you can collect. And eBay has made a great business model out of finding collectors and resellers of collectibles to deal with each other back and forth. So just because you don't maybe collect toys or action figures, don't think this video doesn't pertain to you. You may find some things that are very useful. Now with that, let's get into it. So, talking as toy collectors, there are really two types of collectors, technically three. You have your collectors, you have your resellers, and you have what is affectionately referred to as scalpers or flippers. Now, how are they different? Collectors are people like you, me, everyone else, where we buy them to display them, whether to open them, to play with them, to enjoy them. Your resellers, we buy them to basically make some sort of profit on them. We do it as maybe a permanent side hustle. It maybe is our actual career, whether we are a full-blown brick and mortar retailer like a Target store, or if we're an online presence like rickstoyroom.com or some of those others. Your resellers are people that buy to resell at profit. And then you have your scalpers, which is pretty much what a reseller is. You buy low, resell high, and you have your flippers. Your scalpers and flippers, though, are more temporary. They want to come in, they want to find what's super hot, what's super value. That's the only thing they want to buy. They want to buy all of those up, and they want to resell them. They have no intentions on keeping them. They don't care about the history. They're just there to make a quick buck. They are frowned upon by other collectors and retailers and resellers because, like I said, they don't care. They're in for the quick dollar. They're in for the flip, get in, get out. And they just try to buy up all the hard things or hot things, the valuable things that collectors and resellers can't get their hands on. Now, again, reseller and scalper kind of the same thing, except for scalpers are here one day, gone the next. Resellers are a lot more permanent. Okay. Now, what type of collecting can you do? Well, you're almost always going to lean one way or the other. You're either going to be a primarily loose collector, a primary package collector. Very rarely do you fall dead in between. Me, I collect 99% of my stuff packaged. However, I have loose figures up there. I have loose Hot Wheels right here. What is a loose collecting? So loose collecting is when you take any product out of its original factory package and you either play with it, you display it, you pose it, whatever you want to do with it, but you've taken it out of the original packaging. Now, loose collecting has a couple different sub-variations. You have the loose, which is just like the gargoyles sit right now. They're out of package. They're posed on the shelf. Right now, they don't have any accessories, the packing materials, nothing. It is just the figure. That is a loose figure. Loose but complete would be if I were to take this particular action figure out of its box, and all these little weapons and accessories that they have, I keep those, and I put them somewhere safe, whether on the figure and display it with them, or I put it in a little plastic baggie, or maybe I put it in the original box. But if I have the figure or the toy with all of the accessories and pieces. Maybe it would have come with a little instruction manual, right? All those parts make it complete. Now, a loose with complete typically will sell for more than loose. Loose complete with box sells for even more. The reason for it is because now you have the original box and the accessories. You could put it back together, and even though it's not sealed, it's complete, like complete 100% with box, and that will sell for more. You see this typically in things from the early 80s or even the mid 80s and before. So any of your vintage action figures. Now, vintage, by the way, is technically 20 years and earlier. So anything from 2002 could be considered, vintage. However, my age, we still grew up in that. Well, vintage is 80s, what we grew up with. So that actually falls in the antique line. Antique is 40 years or higher. So anything from the 80s is technically antique. The more parts of the package that you have, the more valuable it's going to become. We'll talk about that later as well. Your sealed collectors. Now, sealed collectors are can be very particular, right? So for instance, a sealed item is going to be one that is in the factory display box. It has the original sealed tape, so it's not been opened, it's not been played with. However, sealed collectors typically are a little bit more particular. Some don't care how much damage a product has. For instance, this particular box has a huge crease down the back of it. I would not necessarily be able to sell that for top dollar. This particular Hot Wheel from 91, even though it's sealed, it is technically vintage. It has a huge tear on the side and a giant line going right down the center of the card. Now, does that mean it's any less valuable? Technically, no. And we'll get into that, like I said, later. So, there's other types of packaging, right? Or there's other types of... Now that we've talked about loose and sealed, let's talk about packaging types. So, if we go back to my Jeep Wrangler, this is what they call a window box. It is a boxed product. It has a plastic clear window. You can see all the product and the parts, accessories in it. Your die-cast cars, your Hot Wheels, your action figures like your 3 3/4, those are considered bubble or blister packed. What's that mean? It means that there is a clear plastic bubble or clear blister that comes off the flat card that allows you to look at the product. This has the least amount of packaging, so there's a lot less waste and materials that go into putting it together. There's also factory sealed. Factory sealed technically has there's basically two variations. If I'm talking about an individual product, factory sealed means that it has the original factory tape. The tape was not cut, more tape added. If we're talking about cases or wholesale, factory seal would be like those Super 7 boxes behind me or the Hasbro boxes where they have the factory label on them. It is inside the brown cardboard box. It has factory tape on it. And that's super important to understand later on when we talk about grading and why a factory sealed case is actually way more valuable than certain independent pieces. Also, when it comes to boxes, you have what's called blind box. So blind box is where you have a mystery figure or mystery item inside a box. The box has a list of the possible products inside it. It has a very generic design, but inside can be something, it's going to be totally randomly packaged. Blind boxes you'll see more with like your vinyl figures, certain special edition release Hot Wheels, stuff like that. When we talk about product lines again have two kind of distinct definitions, right? So if I ask you as a reseller what kind of lines do you carry, you could say something like action figures, die-cast, G.I. Joe, Mattel, Funko, Loungefly. These are categories of product and product lines. I know I can tell you if I carry Mattel, that could mean I carry Barbie, I carry Hot Wheels, I carry Fisher-Price. That's Mattel, right? If I say I carry Hasbro, that means I could carry Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Marvel, whatever. Now, if we go into the independent or individual pieces, I could say, hey, I carry the classified line. Classified line would mean it is a subset of G.I. Joes that are 6-inch in scale. They are boxed. They are of this particular version of the brand item, G.I. Joe. They're very particular subsets. I could say I carry treasure hunts, which are a product line within the Hot Wheels. Those are product lines. They, like I said, they can be very broad, meaning full company categories, or they can be very specific of a version of figure or car inside the category. Let's talk about scale. So I just kind of talked about that being a 6-inch action figure. My Hot Wheel here, this is a typical standard 1/64 scale. Most of your die cast will come in that scale. However, Jada makes these 1/24. This means it is 1/24 the size of a real Jeep Wrangler. If I take that, measure it, go measure my Wrangler outside in the driveway right now, it's 1/24 the size. So Hot Wheels and your die cast, I should say, normally go 1/64th, 1/32, 1/24th, 1/18th, and I think they make a 1/6, which is your RC style. Action figures, typically you have your 3 3/4 inch, and then it goes your 1 1/12 scale, which is your 6 inch. You have your 1 1/4 scale, which is normally 12 inch and larger. Those are normally held for like statues, premium lines. There was a Marvel line for a while out. NECA makes a 1/4 scale Ninja Turtle. It's like a 12 or 13 inch Ninja Turtle from Turtles 2. So that is your product lines. What else is there to talk about? So that was a very, very quick 10-minute introduction of just some vocabulary that you could hear, that you'll use. Understand that when you look at online, and we'll do an online specific, but when it comes to package collectors and what comes to value, I want you to understand that just because it's in a package doesn't mean it's most valuable. There are loose Hot Wheels that are worth a small fortune. I have seen McFarlane loose action figures sell more than the exact same version in package that I have on my tables. It really depends. Do not let someone tell you what the value of your collection or collectible is. Now, I know that sounds counterproductive to what this video series is about. This is what I mean. You don't tell people how to drink their whiskey. You don't tell people how to drink and enjoy their cigars. You don't tell people how to value their collection. I would pay way more money for this Hot Wheel than I will pay for this one. And you're going to say, oh, well, that's because it's older. And that's not true. This, first off, the package is in worse condition. It's not a very special car. This is a limited edition treasure hunt. We'll talk about those in the diecast video. I would spend more money on this car because I have a sentimental value to it. Not only was this one of the first cars that I got given to me as a collector, but I used to be a huge No Fear fan when I was in school. You know, back in middle school, I wore a ton of No Fear shirts. Having a No Fear Hot Wheel, I would spend more money on that Hot Wheel than I would a treasure hunt because it's nostalgic to me. When you're doing things as a reseller, if you're getting in to collect for, what you should collect if you want to collect high value, I'll teach you that. If you want to collect because you want to collect because you collect. If you want to collect to resell, I'll give you pointers on what to look for, where to look, how to find those high value items. If you're just like, hey, I want to collect to invest, that's fine too. Mix and match your collection, because I will tell you again, there are collectors out there that are completists. They have to have every piece that came out in a line or a set. For instance, I have an almost complete set of G.I. Joe Funkos. I'm missing 3. I will find those 3, and it's going to cost me a fortune. I have a almost complete set of Classified. I'm missing a few because I got rid of them and decided to get back into it. That's the type of collector I am. I'm a complete in package. I got to have it sealed. I've got to have everything in the line. Maybe you're not. Maybe you are a person that the only thing you collect are Jeep Wranglers. I have a friend of mine that also runs a small business, and she collects exclusively Jeep Wranglers. Every Jeep I find, I send her some, and in turn, she flips me cases or, other Hot Wheels that I'm looking for because I love the Batmobiles. Like, I collect every version of the Batmobile. There's no right or wrong way to collect, so keep that in mind. The value is determined by FOMO and the market. FOMO, fear of missing out. If I have something, for instance, like this NFT Hot Wheel, this is less than probably 2,000 of these made. They are very limited. That is going to sell for more than a treasure hunt or super hunt because they are very limited and they are very, they're going to be harder to get. So the market is going to dictate, well, if it's more rare, it's harder to get. There is a caveat to that. Watch my Hot Wheel video. I will tell you about the 96 Dodge Viper Error that is worth less money than the actual correct vehicle and why that is. We'll teach you in the online tools on how to value your collection. I will do a video for that. So stay tuned, come back. You're not going to want to miss this. If you want to learn more and pick up more vocabulary for your particular genre or your particular line, we're going to walk you through that. We're going to do G.I. Joe. We're going to do Star Wars. We're going to do Hot Wheels. We're going to do Funko. We're going to do Masters of the Universe. We're going to do it all. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.